Please, turn off the ad block, subscribe, and share. Links will be below for anyone wanting to support this channel.
Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett and I'm the founder and owner of TechFuse Help. And today I am making a quick video, a coding video on maps. Now, on my previous video I talked about and showed how to add maps and overlays on maps within Windows Universal Applications. Now, I didn't explain too much on how the maps work. In fact, I didn't explain at all on exactly how the maps work. At least I don't think I did. But since maps works very similar between things like Windows Universal Application, Android, and so on, the thing to keep in mind is this does apply to multiple platforms, which is very useful to understand. In fact, even if you're going into game design, you'll find this exact thing. Like in Fallout, they have something called layers. It's even on Fallout maps, so Fallout 4, the new game that just came out. And with Android, Windows, and so on, they have layers. So as far as the layers and stuff, one thing I want to mention is you'll usually find this if you are not making the maps from scratch. Like if you're using, for example, with Windows, given that it's associated with Bing or Bing Maps in this case, where Windows Universal Application uses Bing Maps and Android uses Android Maps and the others use their own maps. If you're doing something like that, then this will apply. However, if, say for example, if you're working on a military application where soldiers are looking at a topographical map and that's constantly changing from one day to the next, you might have layers, which is a very useful thing for soldiers if they're using digital devices for that. However, more than not, it's probably going to be a static drawn image, which is going to have one layer, and I'll get more into this in a second. Now, to explain this, I'll be using Paint, and yes, it's low budget, but it'll get the job done. And if you want to help us out, by the way, with our budgeting and stuff, then donate to our Patreon. But as far as, and also help us growing, but as far as this goes, just image this as multiple layers. Now, you might be asking, how many layers does Google Maps have? How many layers does Bing Maps have? How many layers does Apple Maps have? And so on. And the truth of the matter is this is something that you need to look up when you're developing per thing, per system. If I'm developing for Android, I need to look up how much of a wiggle room I have with Google Maps. Same thing with Windows Universal Applications. I gotta look up how much of a wiggle room I have with Bing Maps. So simply look that up. I'm not giving a raw number, mostly because this can change. So trying to keep this as updated to possible for long periods of time. But the first layer, the bottom layer, is always the layer that you associate as the map itself. This being the drawn road, the satellite map, or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, the first layer is always the layer that which everybody considers as the map itself. It's not an overlay, it's the actual map itself. So with that, you might be asking, well, how is it able to switch between drawn roads and satellite? How that's able to be done is through a complex method of RESTful, and it's just in a nutshell, it's just grabbing the image from a server if it's not stored on your device. And that's pretty important. If you want to switch the first layer, it's possible on some devices, whatever you're programming for, it's possible that you can actually switch this first layer. So with Windows Universal Application, Microsoft has even said that if you don't like our maps, then you can switch it. If you want to put your own maps there, if you hate Bing Maps for whatever reason, you can use the basic features, the latitude, longitude, the zoom in, zoom out, things of this nature, and just load your own satellite image, load your own maps, whatever. So that's the first layer. It's the actual map itself. The top layer, this again can be whatever number, but the top layer, it's simply the road itself, the names of the roads and things of this instance. It's usually the top layer or near the top layer, so it might be the very top, it might be the second or third from the top. It's somewhere within there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. It's not always the very top, but sometimes it is. So with that, and usually it's realistically it's usually not the very top, because some weather maps, if you actually look at them, whether using Google or Bing, some of them actually, you'll see the weather overlay on top of what will be street names, and you can't see street names in some instances. In other instances, you could. So it depends on which system you're using, and also it depends on what you want to use. Keep in mind, empty layers are basically not there. So that's important to know, is the first layer is always the map. The top layer, one of the top layers, is usually the street names and things of this instance, maybe icons and like restroom icons and others. But you can change these things. It's almost universal. You can change these things. So when you have weather, and I'll get into how to make your own weather map with universal applications, and I might even get into Android on how to do this exact thing on how to make your own weather map. But one thing you'll notice is the weather, what it will do is it will grab the information and it will load it in one of the layers. The user won't notice. The user won't know this. To them, it can be as simple as the thing's just drawing the image over and over. But to you and me, as programmers, we know that'll be ridiculous to have the computer draw the image over and over. And then it'll be a better option to just have a overlay system so it doesn't draw the map over and over and draw the street names over and over, where you can just have an overlay, and it's easier on the processor and easier and cheaper overall, because the hardware itself, you don't have to have as much hardware, and then you don't have to have as much resources involved with it. So that's one of the things I'm going to cover in a future video. But until then, keep in mind that with maps you have layers. Now, if you do have any questions on this, then feel free to let me know, and I'll get in more detail into this. Or if you got any questions about anything else with coding or anything else, then let me know, and I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. And as far as things goes, if you want to help us grow, then feel free to donate to our Patreon campaign, and that will be greatly appreciated. And if this has helped you out, please like this, please subscribe, and please share. If you don't like this for whatever reason, then go and leave a dislike, but let me know, and I will fix it in future videos. Have a great day.